All right, so I don't know, for the last 15 years or so, I've had this kind of an interest in collecting Coues deer heads. And Coues deer more than any other animal, for whatever reason, maybe because they're more accessible. You can hunt them most every year, but I just like the deer, and so rather than kind of putting them up on the wall like a lot of guys do, I don't like taxidermied. I don't like taxidermy stuff. I don't like it on the wall. It's not that I don't like to look at it, it's just I prefer to be able to hold it, and if it's on the wall it's kind of hard to hold, and so I end up keeping all my deer heads. I skull cap them. I don't like arrows either, just because it's big, so I just kind of skull cap them, and I actually store them in a moving box, and they just kind of go in the room, in the closet somewhere, and then every so often I'll just open up the box and I get after them, and I just hold on to them, handle them, turn them, look at them. That's just kind of what I like to do with my deer heads. So this deer right here, this is a dead head that I picked up last year actually, and I was watching a sow with 3 cubs. So there was 4 bears. It was a sow with 3 cubs, and that sow actually turned this deer head over. And so it was because I was watching that bear that I was able to find this deer head. And after she and her cubs left and went up over the canyon, I walked down in there and I picked that deer head up, and it's just it's a cool little rack. You know, it's not a big deer, but it's a cool deer. Like, I wouldn't pass that on very many hunts. So that's a dead head that I picked up. And then this one here, this is actually the first Coues deer that I killed. I think it was 2006, and that was back when you could draw December tags without any bonus points, and I drew a December tag and didn't know what I was doing. We were in a unit that I had hunted mule deer in with my bow, and we used to see Coues deer, and we found this deer, and I shot it on like the 3rd day or something, and definitely not a big deer. They always look bigger when they walk away, and he walked away, and his antlers were out to his ears, and we decided to kill him. So that was my very first Coues deer. Let's see, what's next? So, and then this one, this is a deer I shot just in this last December, and it was on my next to last day to hunt, and it wasn't the deer that I thought it was. I was hunting with a friend, and we found it, and I shot this deer at about 800 yards and stayed down there almost the entire time, and I learned a lot about that unit and a lot about what I'll do next year if I draw the tag again. So that was this year, December hunt. And then this is like, I really like these antlers right here. So this isn't these are the only sheds that I've ever kept. So I picked this buck up. It was just a sweet deer. I found this in 24, but I found one side of it, and then I went back like a week later to the same area, and I had my daughters with me, and they were young, and they were sleeping in the back of my truck, and while they were still asleep, I got up early and went hiking out, and I found the other one, and then I ended up walking them as soon as they woke up. I didn't pick it up. I walked them basically to it and let them pick it up. So I've got a picture of that, and then, you know, I've got like a year previous to it. So I like that because it just kind of follows the deer from year to year. And back when I was running trail cameras, that's what I would try to do, is I would try to kind of get to know the deer and follow their growth throughout the years, and that was always a lot of fun. And then just leaving the area, I kind of quit doing it. It got hard to go back in there and manage the trail cameras. It's a lot of work to do it well. Next, this is a buck I shot in Arizona a few years ago. I picked up a leftover tag. My friend Owen took me into an area that he knew, and we shot this deer. This deer grew on me a lot when I walked up to him. Like, I didn't think it was quite as big as it was. It's like low 90s buck, and just a really cool time with Matt Cullup and Owen on this hunt. And pretty fun leftover tag. And then what do we got next? So my first ever deer in Mexico. I shot this. I was hunting with Matt Woodward on a ranch near Sasabe, and we watched this deer for a long time. He was kind of bedded down in the Ocotillos, and we waited for him, and so ended up killing this buck. This buck was not as big as we thought he was. He's a little over 100 inches, I think. But I always really liked that buck too. Like, I like inline fours, and he's got massive beams, I think 18-inch beams or something. I just always really liked that buck. That was my first Mexico buck. And then my second Mexico buck was just quite a bit neater. This buck doesn't score a lot. If you take a net score, he doesn't net anything because your width measurement can't exceed that of your longest beam. And this buck is 21 inches wide. He's got like 17-inch beams or something. But so I think he nets like right around 110 inches because of that 21-inch spread. But like he's got very little time length. I hit him in the head. The buck dropped. We didn't know where I hit him. The buck dropped. We got up to him, and the shot, like we had positioned the deer to start taking photographs and stuff, and the deer like all of a sudden woke up, and we're like holding the deer, and the deer's trying to get away, and so we ended up having to kill him again. Yeah. There's video of that floating around somewhere. It's pretty wild.
Down, I'm trying to.
That's a koozie doing that, dude.
Yeah, he's trying to get up.
Yeah, that was a cool deer, and we actually made the video that we made was with this deer. It's called Fulfilled. It's on our channel. You can see like when we shot that deer. It was in Mexico with Matt Woodward, and then the next year I went down and we hunted a different ranch, and I went down on a weekend with a friend, and man, we looked at like 40 bucks a day, and we never saw anything that was over like 95 inches, and so I didn't shoot a deer. I went back a week or 2 weeks later with Matt and a couple of his and Mario, a couple of his friends, and we found this buck. And like right when I saw this buck and just that massive G2, like we just knew that buck had to get killed. And this is a 110-inch deer that's like 11 inches wide, and that was a really cool deer. I always like this deer's, I don't know, this one's one of my favorites for sure. He's just cool, like super character. He's got all kinds of beating and some interesting stuff on the way that his beams are formed, like pretty good mass measurements at his bases, and then you can see like no width at all. So that was my third Mexico buck. This buck here, this is like, coos deer are weird. Like guys get fetishes about coos deer, and one coos deer fetish is big 2-points or super forks. And so I killed that buck, big two. He's a 95-inch 2-point. I killed that buck with my bow. And I want to say 2008. I know a number of guys have 2-point fetishes, and I definitely do too. I always get excited when I see a big 2-point. So, and then this was last year in Sonora. Just probably the ugliest deer ever. He's just, everything about him is just funky. What I love about it, like this deer
Smoked him.
was a lot bigger when we walked up on it than what I thought it was when I was shooting at him. So I didn't know he had that weird eye guard. And then just to walk up on him and see his bases are just massive, 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 and like a big OG2 with some cheaters coming off of it. Just a really neat but ugly freaking deer. So yeah, there's that one from last year. And then you would have seen that one. We showed that one on the video Sonora 4 last year. And then on the videos that we'll put out from Sonora this year was this buck, and that's a double drop tine buck that it was the fourth deer that I saw on the trip. And Chase and the Kyles, they were looking at another deer, and I looked back over where we had seen a couple smaller deer earlier and saw this guy and just knew right away that we needed to look at him. I could tell he was big. And so Chase put the spotter on him and realized that he had drop tines, and then it was just a matter of how are we going to kill it. So, and we were able to, luckily where he was at, we were able to get within 400 yards, 440 yards I think it was, and make a good shot on him. So that's a cool deer as well. And that's yeah, that's my deer heads in a box. That's just kind of where I'll always keep them. So just because I like to get them out, and I like to look at them, I like to touch them.
Bad men turn good women wrong and make bastards out of their sons and fools of themselves. They're only judged by